good morning. Welcome to week 2 of Church Online. We'll be back with you in person next Sunday, and we're looking forward to all being back together again. But yeah, if you didn't catch up on last week's preach, it would be great to catch up with it this week, and that'll just get you ready and set for the week. But yes, as I say, next Sunday we'll be back in person. Royal Keith Community Centre. We can't wait to see you again. We hope you've had a refreshed 2 weeks, just a bit of a reset. We'll look forward to seeing you in person again. And we were laughing before actually, because last week when Dad was speaking, he's just like a little dot. And I went to Callum, you're going to have to enlarge the screen for this one, mind. But yeah, it's got nothing to do with anything really. But this morning I'm just going to speak to you. It won't be long. It'll just be maybe a quick one this morning, but we'll see. I'm going to speak about when life throws a curveball, and it's miracles during the stretch. And you know, curveball is a baseball term. I'm sure you've all heard it before. And it's a delivery in which a pitcher causes the ball to deviate from a straight path by imparting a spin. So a curveball throws you off course, it throws you off route. And you know, stretching can most often than not hurt. And we spend a lot of our time waiting in line, waiting for news, waiting for responses, waiting for that promotion, waiting for the next season of life. God is at work in our waiting, and we might not see any changes in these times of waiting, particularly not through the difficult times, tough times, and periods of personal growth. But you know what? There's a plan and there's a purpose for it all. And when you think about life, we are constantly being stretched and we're constantly waiting on something. That might be you're waiting for healing, or you're waiting for that marriage or relationship to be restored, or you're waiting for answers, you're waiting for direction, you're waiting for guidance, you're waiting for your purpose, or you're waiting for that financial breakthrough, or you're waiting for that fulfillment of a dream, or fulfillment of a promise. But I think in every area of life we're waiting on something all the time, and at the minute I am obsessed with the Johnny Depp trial, obsessed. And I've been watching it now. I think it's been on like 6 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks or something. And I'm waiting for the outcome. I'm just waiting to see what happens at the end of it, and I won't miss a minute of it. Even during the breaks I'm still watching it because I want to be there for it. And Callum came in one day and he was like, "You're watching a blank screen." I was like, "I know, but I need to see what happens." And I'm pretty sure I could be a lawyer by the time I've watched it. They just say hearsay all the time and stop the questions. But yeah, we're waiting in life on everything. There's always something. I've just got a couple of points this morning, and point number 1 is it's what we are doing during the waiting that counts. And I'm not a patient person at all, and we want things right here, we want things right now. But you know what, sometimes God's just saying, just wait. Don't rush it, just be still, and it will happen, whatever you're waiting for. And in Isaiah 40:31 it says, "But those who wait upon God get fresh strength. They spread their wings and soar like eagles. They run and don't get tired. They walk and don't lag behind." And you know what? We need to be waiting on God, and God is our strength, and we need to be relying on Him. And I've just got a few little underpoints really, and it's what should we do when we are waiting for that curveball to pass, whatever that curveball in life may be. And number 1 is pray. We need to talk to God. We need to plead with Him. We need to thank Him. We need to cry with Him. But talk to Him. And period of waiting may also be a time of preparation. It's getting us ready. And we need to do what you can with what you have, where you are. The place where you're in right now is we might never thought we would be in, but God knew, and right now we are exactly where God has placed us, because it's in His time, it's the right time. And sometimes we have curveballs in life, sometimes we have the wow, I didn't see that one coming moments. And when we have those moments, we're like, well, what should we do? This isn't what I planned in my life. And but there's so many curveball moments in the Bible. And first, I'm just going to go through a couple. And Abraham and Sarah's promised child. In Genesis 18, 1 to 15, you know what? God promised to give Abraham and Sarah a child, but Sarah couldn't believe it. In her mind, both she and her husband were too old. The time of childbearing days had passed. The thought of bringing life into the world seemed absolutely ridiculous. But Sarah was wrong, because nothing is too hard for God. And though she initially laughed in disbelief, we see in Genesis 21, 1 to 7, that God did the impossible. The couple welcomed the son named Isaac. And you know what? This story just reminds us it's never too late for God, no matter how old you are, no matter how long you've been dreaming. And God's promises don't expire. And in Genesis 21, 1 to 4, it says, God visited Sarah exactly as he said he would. God did to Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and gave Abraham a son in his old age. And at that very time, God had said, Abraham named him Isaac. And you know what? God holds on to that promises and he doesn't let us down. And then we've got the woman with the issue of blood as well. In Mark 5, we read about a woman who had been bleeding for 12 long years. Can you just imagine that? She had exhausted all her financial resources to find a cure, so she had no money, she was broke. But after all the disappointment, she didn't give up hope. She kept holding on to that hope. And the woman pressed her way through the crowds to get to Jesus, and the moment she touched the hem of the garment, she was healed like that straight away. And you know what? This just reminds us, don't lose faith during the struggle. If you wait, believe, and keep on pressing, God will come through. How good is that? And Abraham was waiting for a promise to be fulfilled. Do you know how long he waited? 25 years. In Hebrews 6 says, then Abraham waited patiently and he received what God has promised. Imagine waiting 25 years for that dream or for that healing, for that marriage to be restored or that baby you want. But so worth the wait. And my point number 2 is, don't ignore the curveball. They will be thrown, I've got, but ... grow through them. You know, Elevation Rhythm, which is Elevation Worship's like youth band, they're a bit younger. They sing a song called Growing Pains, and it's been in my head for weeks now. And the chorus says, everything's gonna be okay. It won't always be this way. At my worst, when it hurts, won't be afraid. Sometimes faith has growing pains. Yeah, everything's gonna be okay. This will all make sense one day. At my worst, when it hurts, won't be afraid. Sometimes faith has growing pains. And I've heard growing pains are really painful. I honestly can't say I've ever experienced them. As Caleb said, I stopped growing when I was about 7. But I know a couple of weeks ago, Caleb was saying his legs really hurt, and it must have been growing pains. And the Grace used to get them all the time. But I know by the time Caleb gets back from Florida, he's probably going to be up past my head because he's already up to my shoulders. But you know what? Growing pains are painful. And sometimes faith has growing pains. And getting stretched in life is painful. But we won't learn if we aren't stretched. We won't learn if we're just content with where we are. And there's a quote and it says, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% about how you deal with it. And when we are going through pain, we just need to call out to God and we need to get him to help us deal with things. And you know, I think the older you get, the better you deal with things. And you deal with things even better when you've got God by your side. In Psalm 34, 17 to 18, it says, is anyone crying for help? God is listening, ready to rescue you. If your heart is broken, you'll find God right there. If you're kicked in the gut, he'll help you catch your breath. And how good is that? Just God's there to rescue you when we are falling, or when we're struggling, or when we're going through that patch that we don't really know what to do. But you know what? Curveballs are opportunities to grow. You've got to determine not to let them curveballs take you out of the game. Keep your focus on Jesus and press on to what he has called you to do. In Philippians 3:13-14 it says, "Brothers, I do not consider that I have made it on my own, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on towards the goal for the prize, for the upward call in God in Christ Jesus." You know what? We can't make it on our own. We do need to rely on God. And number 3 is curveballs are thorn, but just for a season. In Ecclesiastes 3:1-9, it's such a well-known verse. I'm sure everyone will know this when we talk about seasons. And it says, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain them from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak." I'm learning on that one, as my husband will tell you. "A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace." And I just think this has to be one of the most well-known Bible verses when we're talking about seasons, because it pretty much covers every season that we go through. And a couple of weeks ago, I had like a heart and soul type thing, and Dad was speaking. You know what he said? Don't quit when you're only halfway through a season. You know what? It's so easy to jump when things are tough and when things aren't going to plan and things aren't how you thought it would be, when you're thrown off course. But don't quit halfway through a season. Just see that season out, because you know what? A better season is to come. And we sing a song, and it's called Faithfulness, and it's, "There'll be a season for joy and weeping. In everything, our God is faithful. His arms are open, I will come running. Now and always, our God is faithful." And you know what? When we're finding it difficult, we need to know that it's okay to cry, it's okay to be happy, it's okay. Just run to God, because God is faithful. And God knows how far he can stretch us, and he won't stretch us so much that it will break us. And whilst we are in the stretch, we need to remember to keep fighting our battles. And how do we fight our battles? We need to fight our battles with hands held high and heart abandoned. We don't want to be down in the slumps. We need to fight those battles, because we'll get through them. In 2 Chronicles 20:17 it says, "You will not have to fight this battle. Take up your positions, stand firm, and see the deliverance the Lord will give you. Judah and Jerusalem, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Go out to face them tomorrow, and the Lord will be with you." God, remember, don't be afraid, and don't be discouraged when things aren't going our way, because we need to stand firm and just see what tomorrow brings. And you know what? Just remember, curveballs are being thrown, but we will get through them. And you know what? To stretch means to lengthen, extend, or spread, to make demands on one capacity or resource, or to make the maximum use of something. And when God is in the stretch makes room for the miracle. Whatever miracle you want, God's in it. You know what? Stretching isn't really a seasonal thing. we're constantly being stretched in every area of our life. Could be at work, we're being stretched. In our relationship, we're being stretched. Financially, we're being stretched. Maybe in church, you're being stretched. Every aspect of stretching is not seasonal. It's happened constantly. You know, the stretch shifts you out of your comfort zone. And who hates being out of the comfort zone? I know I really don't like being out of my comfort zone. I like being where I know, and just makes me feel uncomfortable. And when we moved house, I'm so used to getting the metro. I was looking for a house with metros everywhere. You know what? We moved to a house where there's no metro. I had to get the bus, and at first I was like, I'm never going to be able to get the bus. I hate being out of my comfort zone and the unknown. But you know what? It all works out in the end. And when COVID happened, I know a lot of people, this happened to a lot of people, offices shut. We had to get new routines. At first I didn't like it. And then got into a routine for 2.5 years, and the office opened again. Now we're on rotas. It's just not the same as it was. And I hate being out of my comfort zone. But you know what? God does stuff to stretch us. And I've got an Apple Watch, and Dad and Dan and us will share our exercise rings. Dad goes out for 10-mile walks a day. Dan goes to the gym at 5 a.m. on mornings. Even when he's in Florida, he's been going to the gym. And at first I was like, oh no, I need to catch up with them. I need to do something about this. But you know what? I don't like being out of my comfort zone, so now it doesn't even bother us. Because I like to stay in my comfort zone. I like to stay where I know is right. But you know what? The stretch does shift us out of our comfort zone. And saying yes to the stretch requires faith. You know, a God-sized stretch requires faith, because there's no natural way we could get through the stretch without God's help. And there's so many people in the Bible who said yes to God when they were going through a stretch. You know, Abraham said yes to God when asked him to sacrifice his only son. Joseph said yes when God asked him to forgive his brothers who beat and sold him into slavery. The disciples said yes when Jesus asked them to leave everything behind and follow him. And Mary said yes when the angel told her she would carry God's son Jesus. And Noah said yes when God asked him to build the ark. You know what? Saying yes to God, it may be difficult. It's probably going to be unpopular. And it probably will be really uncomfortable. But you know, sometimes we need to say yes to the stretch. And we'll get the miracle if we just keep going. Yeah, so I think I'll just leave it there. But thank you so much for listening. And have a great week. And we'll see you at church next Sunday. Bye.